Good day to you, and welcome to Intercultural Communication, CMST 310. Let's take a little walk into my backyard and pass through the kitchen if that's okay. Yeah, we're going to go out into the big backyard. You know, the backyard that many Americans, perhaps even most, aspire to. A backyard that doesn't have to have a fence, though you can have one. Backyard where your dog can run free. Backyard where your kids can play. Backyard where you have some privacy. That's an American cultural expectation, isn't it? Not for everybody, of course. I mean, people who live in a city, they don't expect to have that. And people who live in a farm, on a farm, they expect to have even more space than the big backyard. But certainly it's part and parcel of American culture to expect to have a backyard. It's not the case in England so much, and if you do have a backyard, for most places, and I can say this because I lived in England, you have a tiny backyard. And oftentimes there's not grass in it, there's pavement, and then there's some kind of flower and vegetable garden, as small as the space may be. So this is my way of introducing to you this course, Intercultural Communication. It's a way for me to introduce it through the idea of a backyard, and even through something like this logo that I'm wearing, a logo on my shirt expressing that I'm from ESU. You're probably, some of you in this class are wearing that kind of a logo right now on a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or sweatpants, because we like to wear the symbol of where we're attending college. So this is intercultural communication. We're going to be talking about things like that from a variety of vantage points and concepts and theoretical references. That's what this course is all about. In the remainder of this instructor video, what I'm going to do is tell you a few things about myself. Then we're going to cover the syllabus. Then we're going to assign your first assignment today, which is an introduction video on your behalf to introduce yourself. And then I'm going to say some words about what it takes to be a successful student in an online course. Okay, so it's kind of windy, so let's go inside while I'm talking. Okay, so first of all, I do live 2 blocks from campus. My name is Rob McKenzie. I'm the chair of the communication department. I have a family. My wife, Kelly, also works at ESU. She's been working there for 10 years as well. She's an assistant professor. I have a son, I have a daughter. They are both associated with ESU because of my lifestyle and also the fact that my daughter goes to ESU. She's in the Department of Communication, actually. I've been teaching at ESU for 25 years. One of the accolades that I've received is I've received an accolade to become the Distinguished Professor of ESU in 2014. I like to think that's because of my publications, most of which have been in international media. That's been my specialty up until I became department chair. I was working in studying broadcasting from across the world, and I have a lot of publications in that area, including a book. So that's a little bit about me. This is my second time through teaching intercultural communication online. I'm very happy to be doing so. I think it's an excellent course to study life from the vantage point of, and I hope you feel the same. I'd like to talk to you about the syllabus now. All my contact information is at the top of the syllabus. The syllabus is posted on D2L. You can get to it. If I have to make changes to it, at some point you'll get a notification on D2L letting you know that. But you really should have your syllabus by your side all the time as we go through this compressed course, and things are happening every single day, just about. So if you have any problems with distance ed, anything with logging on to your D2L, in essence, any technological problems that are possibly the fault of ESU, I've given you a help desk number, and that's who you should contact. Now, what are the outcomes for this course? What's the main thing that I want you to expect? Well, they're listed on your syllabus after the department outcomes. The department outcomes I'll let you read on your own. Those are outcomes that we expect of any student, no matter what they're taking within our department. But within each individual course, we also have separate course outcomes. And for this course, the course outcomes are to use concepts related to intercultural communication. That's number 1. Number 2 is to analyze various contexts, like a backyard, like wearing a shirt with a logo, analyze various contexts of intercultural communication. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, to develop a self-awareness about how culture influences the way that you communicate, which is another way of saying that when we communicate, it's not necessarily on our own volition, not by our own choices. It's also influenced by the culture that we grow up in. There's a book for this class. It's written by Fred Jandt. That's how you say his last name. Jandt is how it's spelled. And I knew Fred Yant because I was his colleague in my first job at Cal State University when I was working out there as an assistant professor in the early part of my career. And he has this book that has become the standard book across the way, across academia for intercultural communication. So you're getting the best knowledge from this book. It's the 8th edition. Make sure you have it. You're going to need it tomorrow. As I said in my emails, that's when we're really going to kick off the kind of common practice for what you'll be doing in this course. All right, next up is special accommodations. If anybody needs special accommodations for whatever reason, please let me know, and then I can extend the due dates and the timings on assignments and quizzes. You just have to provide documentation for that, which comes from ESU's office. It's called the OASIS office. All right, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk about course requirements, okay? First of all, every single day there's going to be an instructor video like this one. This one is different because it's introducing the course. The rest of the videos will be basically trying to frame the concepts that we'll be discussing for that particular day and set up directions for our thinking. And that's my job, to frame the course. And so that's what I'll be doing in instructor videos. They will be available by noon every single day of the class. Okay, so by noon, you can check out the instructor videos. Now, please don't try and work ahead in the class and look at the videos that are already posted on D2L. They are old videos. They're from 2015, the last time I taught the class. I don't want to take them away because then I lose the links. So I'm going to be updating those as we go throughout the course. Don't be confused, please, by seeing 2015. If it says 2015 to it, it's an old video. You don't want to be watching it. All right, now let's move on to the nitty-gritty of where you're getting your grades from. So one area is quizzes. Every single day, with the exception of today, there will be a quiz, starting with tomorrow, Tuesday. A quiz is going to be triggered after you watch an instructor video. So if you can't see the quiz on D2L under the quiz tab, under the assessments tab, then it's because you haven't watched the instructor video. You have to watch the instructor video and then D2L triggers the quiz. There's going to be 14 quizzes in the class, 14. Each one is worth 5 points, and you have 5 minutes to take the quiz, so 1 minute per question. And then at the end of the course, I'll be dropping the 4 lowest scores, so only 10 of the 14 quizzes are going to count. Okay, the next item that I'll be grading you on, and the final item, is going to be discussion posts. Discussion posts are where once you have finished watching the instructor video, and then once you have finished watching the quiz, a discussion question will be posted. It will be triggered after you do those two things. And then you're going to answer the question by citing concepts in the book and extending your own thinking. This is the meat of the course. There's no final paper for the course. There's no midterm exam. This is a compressed course where we're going to focus most of our energies of learning on the discussion questions. I'll say more about those tomorrow so that you don't have to put all of the information into your head right now, but coming tomorrow, Tuesday, is going to be your first quiz and your first discussion question. Now, and there are 14 discussion questions, and also like quizzes, 4 of those, the lowest grades, will be dropped, leaving you with 10 discussion question posts. Now let's go on to a couple items on course etiquette. First of all, plagiarism, as you should know by now, is a no-no in academia. It's basically stealing somebody else's intellectual work and not giving them credit. It's like stealing property. That's the way the law treats it. It's not any different from getting in somebody else's car and taking it. Well, it is different in some respects, but in terms of the basic theory of the law, it's stealing somebody else's work. So you're not permitted to cut and paste sentences from other people's work that you've grabbed on the web and then put them into your discussion post responses. However, if you're going to use others' ideas, and mostly what you should be using is ideas from the course text. If you're going to use other ideas and you want to cite either the page number, or you want to put the ideas in quotes, or give the person's last name and then the date, I don't really have a specific system for how I want you to cite. I'm not going to say APA style. I'm not going to say MLA style. Those are ways of citation. I'm going to let you do it individually, but you've got to cite the person. Okay, if there's any cases of plagiarism, I send those over to the Office of Student Conduct here at ESU, and they deal with it. All right, and then finally, email. I have an email policy, and my policy is when you're emailing me, please use a salutation. A salutation is a greeting. It's hello, it's dear professor, it's good morning. It's one of those words. It's considered to be part and parcel of courteous communication, which is a cultural dimension that I expect for this course. And so please don't start off with, Can I meet you Wednesday? I would like to see a cultural expectation of a salutation. Also, in email, please make sure that you're carefully proofreading your emails for grammar and spelling. Don't send an email that looks like a text message. And I've given an example on the syllabus. I want to see you this week with C and U, just those two letters being used. That's cell phone texting style. That's appropriate in texting. If I was teaching this class by texting, a culture that's separate and apart from email, that would be acceptable, but I'm not. I'm using email for this course. It's a more official form of communication. It's the kind of communication that we'll be using more likely on the job place for official decision-making, official information distribution. So email etiquette is what I'm expecting here. All right, now let's move on to your very first assignment. Your first assignment for today, and it will be due tomorrow by noon, which is going to be the case every time we have class. Your assignment is always going to be due by noon the next day. Now, I know that's not convenient for everybody in the class. Some of you are working perhaps 2 jobs, for example, have a family, traveling, etc. But the 24-hour cycle is enough time to complete these assignments, and it keeps us in a way of remembering the course through a regular rhythm. Every 24 hours, something is due every 24 hours from 12 noon until 12 noon the following day. It's the easiest way, I think, to conduct this course and to keep it on pace. So tomorrow is your first assignment due date. Tomorrow by noon, Tuesday by noon. What you're going to do is you're going to upload to the Discussions tab an introduction video. You're going to introduce yourself. I'll send out an email with the questions that I want you to cover in your introduction, but I'll mention them here. I'm roughly thinking of a 2-minute video. That's where I would like you to try and keep it at right around 2 minutes. And in that video, I want you to talk about the following things. Number 1, your name. If you have a nickname, that's what we want to know. Number 2, why you took this course. What's the most compelling reason? Is it because it's online? Is it because it's a 300 level class? Is it because the title sounded interesting? Is it because of me that you're taking it? I want to know that to help me for future incarnations of the course. Thirdly, I'd like to know where you're traveling while you're taking this course, where you're traveling or where you're living. I think that's really interesting for us to know how this virtual class is taking place, where people are going to be during the course, if you know. And that helps us appreciate how a course that's taught online can cover a subject like intercultural communication and actually incorporate into the course travel and places that people are living in their answers to the discussion post questions. Fourthly, I want you to answer the question of what is a culture that defines you? What is a culture that defines you? Now, I'm not going to say any more about that right now. I just want to leave it open. I don't want to start to shape our thoughts and opinions about what culture is. We're going to start that tomorrow. Right now, though, you already have some ideas about what culture is. So you get to define what is a particular culture that defines you. And the way that you can answer that is by saying, I tend to do these things and those things, and I wear these things and I eat these things because of this culture that I was brought up in or that I've been surrounded by. And then finally, the 5th and final question, I want you to say, to speculate a culture that you would like to experience in the future. It could be a place that you could travel to. It doesn't have to be another country. It could be a subculture within this country. What's a culture that you would like to experience? Maybe try it out because of the ways that people live who are in that culture. Okay, again, I'm keeping it vague in general here, just trying to stimulate our very early thinking about what culture means. So that brings me to my final point in this instructor video for our first day of class, and that is what makes a successful student in an online course. It's not easy. Online courses, for some of you, if it's your first time, may be intimidating. You may be thinking, what's this going to be like? Well, I'm here to tell you that each one is different, and the way that I design my course is certainly going to be different than the next course that you will take with another professor in terms of whether there are videos or texts or links or discussions or quizzes, essays, etc. You know, professors teach courses differently, and to do them online differently is no different from doing them in the class differently. Having said that, though, here's what makes a successful online student, in my experience, no matter what course you're taking. And that is, number 1, to make sure that you're checking your email every single day. The number 1 complaint I hear from students who don't do well in online courses is they say that they forget assignments. So checking your email, which I will send out every day, reminding you of what's going on, and also on D2L, seeing what the syllabus is and making sure that you have that syllabus. And if I were you, I would do a screenshot of it and keep it on my phone in my gallery so that you always have it handy. You can do a quick access and see, what are we talking about today? What do I need to read? And so those two things alone make a successful student. Then there's a third thing, and that is making sure that you understand the assignments. Since you don't have the professor there to answer your questions automatically face-to-face, you've got to make sure that what you've read you understand when it comes to the assignment guidelines. And if you don't, to communicate with the professor. That's my job, to help you through this course, and that includes answering some of your questions. And I do that very quickly, by the way. I'm on email all the time. So you can expect a very, very quick turnaround when you send me a question on email. Those three things, checking your email, making sure that you have that syllabus handy, and making sure you understand your assignments, those are the things that will make you have a good and successful experience here in this course, CMST 310 Intercultural Communication. So that takes me to wrapping things up now by saying that tomorrow we're going to be taking on Chapter 1. So you should make sure that you have that book. You should make sure that you're able to read that chapter sometime between noon tomorrow and noon the next day so that you can watch the instructor video and understand the chapter material. 2, take the quiz. And 3, make your very first discussion post. Now, some students do like to read the material after they see the video. Some like to read it while they're watching the video. That's up to you. That's, again, back to a student's individual learning style. Regardless, I'm really happy to have you in the course. I'm really looking forward to seeing your videos tomorrow and seeing faces and hearing voices and seeing what kinds of cultural experiences you're interested in. And I hope you have a really successful time in this course. Talk to you later.